Etsy marketplace sales fall 8.9% in Q1 amid seller fees increase, and eBay sales are flat as CFO departs, ad revenue rises. So Etsy reported an 8.9% drop in marketplace sales for Q1, with habitual buyers also down 11% year over year. Despite this, overall revenue grew slightly, 0.8%, probably due to inflation, I imagine. It says due to increased ad spending by sellers and a hike in seller setup fees from $15 to $29. And then eBay reported just 1% growth in both GMV and revenue for Q1, while also announcing the replacement of its chief financial officer and chief product officer. Despite sluggish sales, first-party ad revenue on the platform rose 13% in year over year, generating $418 million. So the ads is the saving grace kind of for both of the companies. They're charging more for ads, and it's making up for their decrease in sales. But don't think that's a winning strategy. What do you think, Dana?
Yeah, I mean, let's take a little page out of Amazon's book. What are the sellers going to do? They're going to gripe about it and pay. It's like those of us that have to get gas in our cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Summer comes along, price goes up to $4.50 or $5 or whatever it goes up to, and we go, "Oh man, this sucks. Now I'm having to pay $80 to fill my tank. I'm paying the $80. Here I go." And I think the same thing is going to happen with eBay. Like there are massive businesses that happen on eBay. But, here's the weird thing. They raise the pricing of PPC, but it's supposed to be a free market where you're bidding against your competition.
Mm-hmm.
So are they artificially increasing the bids then?
Yeah, maybe they increased the base or the starting rate or something. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, anytime fees get raised for sellers get upset and then pay them.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna sell there, you don't really have a choice other than to use the ads, and the ad prices are going to rise naturally over time, one due to inflation, but also due to increased competition, which eBay's ads are relatively new compared to Amazon's. So it makes sense that their ad revenue is increasing. But eventually, if you continue to see flat growth or decreased growth like Etsy, that ad revenue is going to start dropping off.
Right. Yeah. And so that's where I think Amazon is headed, is they're going, well, how far can we push? How much can we squeeze our sellers, before the screaming stops and the money starts dropping off and they start leaking dollars. They stop leaking dollars for us.
Yeah, it's ads are unfortunately are a part of the game, and it's increasingly more and more the placement on all of these platforms.
Yeah,
I have searched and paid attention on Etsy and eBay recently how many ads are on every page, but I know on Amazon it's like 40% of the page is all ads. So they just take over the search results and push the authentic results off the page, right? Because if 40% of the page is ads, then that means 40% of the people that should have showed up on the first page are now pushed to the second page.
Yeah, it then becomes an actual non-organic search engine results, right? Yeah. It's augmented. It's Amazon, they do a good job of displaying the right types of ads and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily the product that actually deserves to be there, right? Now, I come from an era when prior to 3P ads even existing. And so the most organic results would always be the winner, because that's exactly what the people were looking for, right? And when ads first came out, I was like, I'm not going to pay more just to make the sales that I'm making. Forget that, right?
Mhm.
And then when I went to launch my first true private label, my sales velocity was okay, but I wasn't like, wait a minute, the search volume on this is X. I should be making at least 4 times. And so what did I do? I went, all right, well, let me turn on ads.
Mhm.
Boom, sales double. And I'm not talking about PPC sales. I'm talking about organic sales,
Yep.
you know? And so when that happened, I was working at Managed by Stats at this time. I started looking at a few accounts and going, hang on a second. What does organic conversions do compared to PPC? And so I pulled some data. This is before we actually had this graph, but it's there now. Partially because I brought it to the attention, like, hey, we need to be able to overlay these graphs. But I got the data, and then I created got help creating a sheet that showed what was the rise and fall of organic sales and what was the rise and fall of PPC sales. And you
Mhm.
know what I found is that organic sales trail PPC sales
Yep.
by about somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks. That's it could be even wider than that. But if you take those two graphs on the timeline and you move them toward each other, you will find they approximately travel the same path,
Yep.
which means that which basically all it really means is Amazon says, hey, if you're not paying us for ads, we're not showing your shit.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
what it
You're
boils down to.
losing your ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may deserve that ranking very heavily. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh my God, because people were saying, yeah, it's pay to play now. I'm like, no, you just need the best listing. And nope, it's pay to play. I statistically proved it to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're still, like you said in the beginning, you're still going to get sales, even if
Sure.
if you have a really good listing and a good product, you get a little traction, you're going to get sales without the
Yeah.
ads. I have a ton of products that I sell for other companies that, they don't have me run any ads or anything like that. And I get
Yeah.
sales
I don't run ads.
off of
Yeah.
their brand name, and probably maybe off of ads that they're doing outside of Amazon, but we don't run ads on Amazon, and they still get plenty of sales. So you're still going to get them. But if you want to be at the top of Amazon, then yeah, you have to pay to play to push those sales up and keep your ranking.
Yep. Yep. True, but
That's just
unfortunate.
the name of the game. But curious, what are your thoughts based on this information on the future of Etsy and eBay?
Look, this is the third time we've covered Etsy on this live stream, and they're reaping what they've sown. That's what I think. eBay, this is just a gut feeling, but I think eBay's doing okay.
Yeah.
The only problem is that when you go public and you have to always show growth, the only way to show that growth after a little while is to squeeze the people that generate that growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. eBay's not going anywhere. It's going to be, 50 years from now, eBay will probably still be there and
I think
holding
so.
its own a decent percentage. I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
grow unless they do something crazy that I can't imagine right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those sites that's just there forever. People are going to be buying and selling on there.
Yeah.
Etsy, I don't know. Etsy could collapse,
Good.
or it could start increasing again if they're able to focus back on their core and focus in on
Yes.
the farmers markets that you go to locally on the internet.
And I just don't see that happening. And so I think they're going to go more. I believe that they'll head more towards collapse, because as soon as they started introducing just like manufacturers and stuff like that, and it was no longer the farmer's market, the handmade market, I
Yep.
never went there again.
Yeah.
Because I
just go to Amazon at that point.
Exactly.
Get your stuff faster.
Yeah. They lost my business years ago, you know, because it's not the site that I went to. eBay is still the site that I've always gone to for what I'm looking for. And now, admittedly, in the early days of eBay, I was like, bid. Yes, I won, you know.
That was fun. So much fun. There's so many people that will never know the joy of winning an eBay auction.
Yes. Yeah. And then they came out with automatic bids, and then you're like, I just want to think $400, you know. And so that got gamed a little bit. But, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. What eBay will always be for me is it is the global flea market.
Yeah.
And the global garage sale. Global garage sale is probably a better example.
Flea market. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, a step below, well, a few steps below a farmer's market.
Right.
Farmer's market is usually a little higher quality stuff, but at a flea market, you never know what you're going to find. You can find some
exactly. And so
that's a good example.
I busted the mirror on my Rover, right? And it's a heated mirror, and so it's got electrical connections. Now, could I go to Amazon and go buy a mirror from China? Yeah, I could. But I wanted a Land Rover mirror because I know the elements are going to work properly and it was built properly and stuff like that. And so rather than going, or I could buy a new one for $300 or something like that. So I found a mirror on eBay that it would cost me $60, you know? And so it'll always be that place for me, is like, hey, I need a new, I don't know. I want a new controller for my Xbox. Well, let me see what's on eBay. Hey, this is super lightly used. It's what I want. It's $50 less. Cool, I'll buy it here.
Yeah, eBay is frequently less expensive than Amazon. I think because their fees are lower, most likely. But I just bought a pallet jack actually on eBay this morning. A pallet jack that has a built-in scale weighing pallets. It was $1,300 on eBay. On Amazon, I was looking and it was $1,900 over there for the same thing.
New?
New, yes.
Whoa.
Same delivery time frame and everything, because obviously this is in Prime. Nobody's sending a pallet jack into Prime. So
right.
They were both delivering between, I think it was the 6th and the 12th or something like that was the estimated delivery date. So
wow,
it's a big difference for a lot of things like that. I find on eBay versus Amazon. So if it's a big purchase, I will usually check around the different platforms.
Smart. Yep. I wish there was a platform that aggregated all the data from the other platforms. Yeah. Like a kayak for e-com.
Yeah. Well, that ChatGPT could be that potentially, right?
That's
we were
true.
talking about that last week, how they're working with Shopify. They could very easily connect into Amazon and eBay and Etsy and all those. But the problem with that is, though, a lot of these sites block those kind of things.
Yes. Right? Yes, so they do. So
Etsy was pulling their data, or ChatGPT was pulling their data. They'll cut them off and then it'll stop working.
So this is something that they made some strides toward recently, is blocking scrapers, because and I know this because in order for us to determine if Amazon removes a review that we filed on, we have to go look. Yeah. Right. They don't say like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. We're so sorry we let that one go through. So we've removed it for you. They don't do that. Yeah. So we have to go and check every single day. Did it get removed? Did it get removed? Well, guess what? They're blocking that. Okay. And not only are they blocking it, because there's ways to get around that, but they're also like, if you log into a VPN and you try to go to Amazon,
Mhm.
they will give you an artificial 404 page. And then if you reload it, oh, it worked this time. That's weird. Why did it go to a 404 saying site not found? It's Amazon.com.
Yeah.
So they're even if you're legitimately using your computer, because I've got a VPN that I use on my computer, that I got when I was traveling to China, and Amazon started blocking that VPN. Well, guess what? If you have a VPN service like NordVPN, Proton, or whatever, well, guess who knows all of those IP addresses? The big guys, you know? And so
Yeah.
they just go, yeah, these guys are using a VPN. They're probably doing something nefarious. And it could just be somebody like me being like, don't track me.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that issue a lot. So when you can't log into a bank account with a VPN turned on a lot of times. They'll block you. You have to, shut it off or whatever to get to the login page even a lot of times. But
Yeah.
have you tried creating a chat GPT, what are they called? Agent or whatever and set it up so that you can say, here's the review.
Yeah.
Go to the page and look to see if that review still exists there.
Yeah. Oh, for that, no, I haven't.
Might be
I've
something.
tried it, and it wasn't working properly. I don't know why, because I'd give it the domain of the review, and I'd say, hey, what's here? Say, it's sometimes it say, oh, I can't access the internet, but I've got web search turned on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll go, yeah, it's this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, that's wrong. Go look again. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. I can't access that page. So
Are you using just the chat GPT chat?
no, I built a
Operator.
GPT for that.
You built an operator?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
operator? Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Amazon could potentially be blocking that in some way as well. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.